Hey, happy Sunday. This is PFG.Live. And here we are. Oh my gosh, everybody's piling into the front lobby here. DBX is reporting from near White Plains, New York. Winds are 300 at 06 knots, visibility 10 miles, sky scattered at 5,000, temperature 28, dew point 16, altimeter 3023. Emmanuel reports 23 science with 77% relative humidity in Bangalore, India. You might have the distance award today. I'm not sure. Aaron W. is with us from Minneapolis Airport. Hot as balls inside. Hoping Delta has a decent Wi-Fi on board. So do we. Evil's reporting from Ghent, Belgium. Made up his own format, but somewhere in there it says it's 26 degrees science, 10 degrees science dew point. Joshua gives us a check in southern Manitoba where it's hot. And he is reporting an automated weather service of winds 130 at 3 knots, temperature 27, dew point 23. Eek, that is hot. Dale is with us saying 16% science and sunny in Snow, Mexico. Let's go over to the YouTube. We have John Thawley. It's reporting 77 degrees Fahrenheit and clear in North Orange County. Perfect morning for a McLaren win. I do know they have great stones. No fooling. Carl Tauber says 80 degrees and partly cloudy in the People's Republic of Rhode Island. Welcome aboard, Carl. Greenwood AG says here in south central Idaho, winds are west at 9 miles an hour, a balmy 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity is at 68% and falling. That's a little chilly, kind of, sort of. Iron Forest Knives, welcome aboard, sir. Hello from Oklahoma. Sunny and 95 degrees with 50% humidity. Cool in the shop, though. Welcome. CJ Stevens. He says it's 83 and sunny in East Tennessee. Welcome aboard, sir. And by the way, sending your support personnel last week was an excellent idea. New York Machinist reports 80 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny in Ithaca, New York, with a slight breeze at the bottom of the gorge. Yes, I know. Unix Carbide is in the Williamsburg of the Brooklyn of the New York, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 45% relative humidity, and beautiful. Nice. Oh, we have a new face here. Snatchco Fabs. Welcome aboard. I think you're a first-timer. 85 degrees Fahrenheit, partly cloudy from Far Hills, New Jersey. But the question remains, is it far enough? CJ Stevens is heading to Bristol. Let's see. Happy to have you here, sir. So, yeah, welcome aboard. In Windham, New Hampshire right now, it's 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 53% relative humidity, and the winds are out of the west-southwest at 3 miles per hour. Manchester Airport reporting visibility 10 miles, variable winds 4 knots, broken at 12,000. Beautiful. Broken at 25,000, temperature 27, dew point 14, altimeter 3019, and the remarks are unimportant. Tucker reports beautiful day at 82 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny in the Buffalo of New York. Wow. So we have Buffalo, New York. We have Ithaca, New York. We have Brooklyn, New York. We have New York covered. I'm in New Hampshire. So welcome aboard. It's actually kind of a relaxed Sunday. Last week, we had the two powerhouses of the machining and tool-making community, Mr. Tom Lipton and Robin Renzetti, and they were a lot of fun. And this week, you just have me. I'm so sorry. I did get a visit during the week from one John Grimsmo of Grimsmo Knives. And he's awesome, and he has an awesome family, and we just had more fun just visiting. And his kids connected with my kids and at least one of them. And they had fun. They had a great time. We had pizza, and that was the right thing. So thank you, John, for visiting and making our day. It was a lot of fun. But also, as if you think I was going to avoid the whole thing. So his son keeps saying, should we go to the car and get the thing? Should we get the thing? Should we go to the car and get the thing? And I was trying to, just observe. So finally, he goes to the car and gets the thing. And what is the thing? But first, Stephen Tessier, checks in at 87 degrees, 32% relative humidity in the sun with a chance of science. Welcome. But you got to give me a location. You could be anywhere. You could be everywhere if you're a physicist. So he went to the car and got the thing. And I received my Grimsmo knives. Look at that. Look at this case. Norseman. Oh, I was so excited. Here it is. By the way, if you're listening on the podcast, you just have to picture it in your mind. It's this glorious knife. There it is, a Norseman. And it is every single bit as cool as you think it is. Here, listen carefully. It is great. One more time. What a beautiful piece of workmanship. So, just gorgeous. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but can we talk packaging for a second here? Let's just talk packaging, okay? The packaging is beautiful. The Nanook case is gorgeous. And then you are indicated that there is a lower level here. So you go over and you take out the lower level and you turn it around. And what do you see? You see the wrench, which is a T9, to take the knife apart, and nano oil for lubricating your knife. Now, I kind of sort of remembered there was something interesting about the oil, and sure enough, it's maple scented, and it really is. So that is so cool. And of course, a Grimsmo sticker and a certificate of authenticity. John, thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun. One more time. Ready? It's been a lot of fun helping John out on a couple of things with respect to grinding and little 3D printing action, and it's been a lot of fun. This is a glorious thing. Thank you so much. But also, John brought, let's see if I can get this picture up for you. John brought the Fjell. Now, he's been working on the Fjell, and if you've been following John in his podcast, the Bill of Materials, the Business of Machining podcast, which I am a regular listener of. There he is. There's the picture on the screen. The Fjell is a smaller knife, and he called it the Integral because the handle is one piece. Now, if you think about it, that brings a whole bunch of machining challenges to the table, and he's talked about that over the months. I am here to tell you the Fjell was gorgeous, and it's a smaller knife. Now, I carry around a El Cheapo smaller knife. I shouldn't say El Cheapo, but it's relatively El Cheapo, and the blade is the same size. So from a usability point of view, from a application point of view, you have all the blade. I think it's 3 inches, and the action is pure Grimsmo. It is phenomenal. And what's not obvious until you look for it is there's a button on the Fjell, which is the lock. And the button action is beautiful. I mean, you have to get one in your hands. So It's a work of art. The damasteel on the Fjell was just stunning. The polishing, the detail, the sharpening. I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm very happy to be in the Grimsmo knife family now with my Norseman, but the opportunity to play with the Fjell. And John will tell you, I sat there. It had to be 15 minutes that I was just staring at and playing with the Fjell. And the feel and the fit was glorious. So one of the things, as you open the Fjell and you look down in the body of the housing, you see this magnificent little pattern at the bottom. It was beautiful. Then you realize that's at the bottom of a deep slot, and it's decorative. It was really cool. So sure enough, John figured out a way to, use the tools he had and make that happen. That was glorious. And another amazing detail that I saw was I'm sorry, I don't think I have a picture of it. Yeah, I kind of do have a picture of it. The pocket clip on this one goes into a pair of rails, and it snaps in. That's on the lower right of this picture, which I'm not gonna get into too much detail. But then I'm looking inside the frame of the open knife, and I realized right underneath the slot where the pocket clip goes, there was engraving inside the main housing. It did not pass up an opportunity to use the space. So thank you, John, for letting me handle and play with and look at and evaluate the Fjell. Also, let me see if I might be able to get, for you guys on video, I might be able to get this zoomed in a little bit. Let's see. Can I do it? Let's see. Maybe that's too much. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. So there's a little zoom in, and you can see the detail of the pocket clip sliding in on its rails, and then you can see the decorative bottom of that slot. It was glorious. So if you're ever wondering, you're looking at these knives, or you're looking at the prices, and oh geez, is this worth it? Should I buy it? I have to tell you, it was an absolute work of art. So Stephen asks, what's the new knife run price-wise, if that information is available yet? Yes, the price is available, but not from me, because I can't remember. So rather than give you the wrong answer, just head over to John's website, which I think is grimsmoknives.com, or johngrimsmoknives.com. Not 100% sure. I will put it in the description of this video and in the description on the audio podcast. Josh posted a link about the Fjell. There it is. So it is grimsmoknives.com. Thank you. Thank you for digging that up. Tuck says the action on those knives is addicting. So I first saw these knives when I was at Datron. So Datron had an office here in New Hampshire, not terribly far away. And one of member of our community, Dan, is it worked for Datron. So now Dan works for Karen, okay? But when he worked for Datron, I went over to an open house, and I was hanging out and checking things out. It was where the Datron machines are pretty cool. And he bought a Norseman. It was the very first time these fingers touched a Norseman. And just as Tuck says, he handed me the knife, and I did the Norseman flip out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this nice? So yes, it is addicting, and they are really sweet. I'm afraid to go to a show like Knife Show. I think I would be in a lot of trouble. So that was that. We had a really nice visit. It was they got the full cook's tour. of the whole family. Got the full cook's tour of my facility and had a lot of fun. Everybody had a lot of fun. So that was neat. And we also talked a little bit about electric vehicles. Not a lot, but he's driving a Tesla. I'm driving the Ford Lightning. We talked a little bit about that and had a great time. Mr. Grimsmo, my door is always open to you, sir. And my furniture is gone. So thanks for coming out and visiting. That was pretty awesome. And he did a pretty epic road show. He talked about it on the last Business of Machining podcast. And I won't reiterate what he had to say. So that was my really nice visit with Mr. Grimsmo. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, there's an American. Well, anyway, if you go to, oh, I see. So there's a Canadian version of the page and an American version of the page about the fjell. So the American one says, derived from the Norwegian word for mountain, the fjell is inspired by peaks and perfected for performance. And in the Canadian one, it says, derived from the Norwegian word for mountain, the fjell is like a knife. Just kidding. Anyway, moving on. We had a good time. So let's see. We had some new experiences this week, and I'm here to share some information with you. So I'm talking to some folks, and I don't know how the topic of filaments came up, but somebody said to me, well, Bambu discontinued PETG. I'm like, excuse me? It's like, yeah, PETG Basic is now discontinued. Now, it may not come as a surprise to you that my trays for all my stones are made out of PETG Basic. So here's a 4-inch round stone tray, the dual red tray, which I consider a trademark. And yeah, they discontinued PETG. Oh, DBX just put in the chat the link for pricing. So there you go. So I get all nervous, and I'm like, oh, well, I have a backup plan, which is I could use other manufacturers' filaments in my Bambu printers. However, I don't want to do that. I want to buy their refills. That's the filament that comes without the spool. I want to use their filament, so there's no excuses for how it behaves in the printer. Well, I start finding out that I was a little late to the party. Not only did they discontinue PETG Basic, they were basically selling remaining stock, and it was gone. They came out with a new filament called PETG-HF. And again, I was a little late to the party because I guess some of the 3D printing folks got advanced samples or initial samples of the PETG-HF, including our friend Mr. James Clow. So I, again, blissfully unaware, my phone rings. It's my bagel guy. So my friend Doug, we were talking about this in the pre-show. My friend Doug, who lives down the street, he's awesome. He's another nerd, and we don't apologize. And he makes awesome bagels. So let's just talk about this for a second. Doug makes homemade bagels. He makes them with a process that he developed so that the bagels are completely symmetrical. I think I might have shared that with you before. They are super yummy. So I'm working in the shop and my phone rings. And I answer the phone and it's Doug. And Doug says, "Are you home?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Did you eat breakfast yet?" I'm like, "Well, I did, but that doesn't matter." He says, "Would you like some bagels?" What do you say when somebody says, "Would you like some bagels?" There is exactly one correct answer. I said, "Yes." He gets in his vehicle, he drives over here and hand delivers a bag with his homemade, still warm bagels. Now, you may have seen a little 30-second fun video that I posted to Instagram and other places and our Discord server of me cutting open one of those bagels and schmearing it and enjoying it. And that was the bagels. But also, Doug says to me, do you want me to bring you a roll of the PETG-HF? PETG high flow. And I said, yes. So he comes over not only with 2 magnificent bagels. By the way, I got the onion bagel and Chandra got the sesame seed bagel. So I immediately went to work on this new filament. Now, Bambu did something that I don't know if they've done before, but they said in no uncertain terms, dry out this filament before use. Now, I find that to be the best possible advice for any filament in 3D printing. You get it from the manufacturer, you dry it, you run it through the drying cycle. Now it's baselined, you know what condition it's in. In James Clow's recent video on his toolbox organizers, he talked about PETG-HF, in which he said, yeah, they say that, but in 8 rolls of PETG-HF, boy howdy, sir, were you not printing or what? He found 1 roll that absolutely needed the drying, and the other 7 he got away without drying them. Anyway, Doug comes over, hands me the roll. I fired up my drying oven in the shop, and I, in fact, gave it the honest 8 hours at 150 Fahrenheit. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact. I think they said 65C. Is that 150F? Somebody want to check my math? Honest 8 hours. Pulled it out of there, right into the printer. Of course, I'm running desiccants in my AMS, and I started printing. The first thing I printed, which I also published to our Discord server, I think I might have put this on Instagram, I don't remember, is a Kiki. A Kiki is a little test print that has, amongst its virtues, that it's not a benchy. Kikis are pretty interesting. They got a lot of interesting features to measure, etc., etc. But the Kiki came out wonderfully. I was running the PETG-HF filament, which is red, and I was running it using the Bambu profile unchanged, and it came out great. Prior to doing that, I ran a calibration run. This was also news. So I've run the calibration runs before on the Bambu, and you can force a full calibration for multiple filaments or a single filament from a computer. And I started the calibration routine expecting I was going to see the same thing, which was a whole bunch of horizontal lines. And that's not what I found. I found this really cool new calibration pattern, which I just put up on your screen, in which there's a raft. Oh, hey, Scott Dubé is here. Dover, New Hampshire. Welcome, Dover, representing. Nice to see you. So this calibration pattern looks like a raft. It's actually, I have the physical thing right here. It's not that big. It's probably 1.5 inches by 2 inches. Okay. So it looks like a raft, and then there's 4 sets of serpentine patterns on top of the raft. And then, of course, it uses its LiDAR and camera and whatever to look at it, and it calculates a number for the extrusion rate. Tuck says, wow, I didn't know the calibration changed. Neither did I. That's the cool thing. So I went ahead and I did that. So now what do we have in the printer? We have perfectly dried filament, we have calibrated filament, and we're ready to rock and roll. Then I printed the Kiki, and the Kiki came out just lovely. In fact, I didn't do any of the measurements of the Kiki with my calipers, but I assume they're fine. And the overhangs look good. Everything looked good right out of the box. Can it stand some tuning? I don't know. I'm not a tuning kind of guy when it comes to filaments, but it was pretty nice. So then I said, okay, we've calibrated, we've kikied. It's now time to print something useful. So the next thing I did is I just took my model for the 4-inch round stone tray. Okay. Now, normally when I print trays, I use 2 colors. Did you do a before and after on that? You mean before and after calibration? I did not. So the only printing I did with this filament has been dried and calibrated. When I print the trays, there's a single layer black nomenclature that goes on the bottom. Instead of messing around, I decided just to leave it out. So I basically told the slicer that it doesn't have, it has the same color for all the bits and pieces, and it printed this. So this is the first like practical print that I made using the PETG-HF. Normally this is PETG, and I'm here to tell you it's pretty wonderful. There's no issues with it. Visually, it's very clean. And I was extremely happy with it. Now, one of the things that's been happening, because I print, heretofore I have printed almost 90%, if not more, call it 90%, 90% PETG, okay? The remainder has been tough PLA, something we will be talking about in a minute. So I know my PETG, and this came out beautifully. And the one thing I was looking for, and I told some of the guys on Discord this, is does the nozzle get caked up with a ball of snot, which the PETG tends to do. So my normal procedure has been to, let's see if I could show you this. I took a picture just today. There it is. My normal procedure is to clean the nozzle between runs for all of my trays, because otherwise it accumulates this bunch of PETG around the nozzle, and then eventually it's just going to drop off. No amount of cleaning in the normal cleaning cycles removes it. It is behind the orifice around the nozzle. It's terrible. I believe that I can go through a lot of pain and torture and figure out how to improve that situation with PETG Basic. I did not and have not, and now I will not. So let's take a look at this picture. This shows a couple of pieces of Kim wipe. The Kim wipe on the top row is my normal everyday thing. Okay, this is what it looks like when I clean it after every run. The Snatchco Fabs asks, does Bambu Labs have the silicon boot that can go around the heat sink / nozzle? It has it. It doesn't go all the way down the nozzle to the orifice very closely. But yes, it absolutely has it. It doesn't help. So what I do is I take a Kim wipe the long way, I fold it 4 times, I grab it with a pair of long straight tweezers, and I roll it up on the tweezers, and then I start using it, and I wipe, and then I unroll it a little bit, and I wipe, and I unroll it a little bit, and that's what you're seeing in this picture. Well, when my print was done for the 4-inch tray, I went ahead and went to clean the nozzle. There was the tiniest bit of drool coming out of the nozzle, which I cleaned. And in the picture on the second row, you'll notice a little section labeled HF for high flow, and a little teeny piece of filament. So this was different. This was not agglomeration around the nozzle. This was a little piece of drool coming out of, which is sort of normal, coming out of the nozzle. Drool does get cleaned up in the normal cleaning cycle in the Bambu. This was very exciting, okay, because it represents a time and attention sink in my process where I have to make sure I clean the nozzles. And I have a procedure for that. You know, after a print's done, I will go over, I will rehome the machine, turn on the heat on the nozzle, bring the head to the front, lower the table, get in there, clean it out, and then turn off the heat to the nozzle. That process leaves the head at the front of the machine. When I look across the room at the machine, if the head of the machine is toward the glass, I know I've cleaned it, and I can just walk up to it and start a print at any time. And that's my process. If I could completely eliminate that worry and that need to do that cleaning, that simplifies my process greatly, improves process reliability, improves quality. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I wasn't sure, so I needed a longer project to test it on. By the way, except for the fact that this is, doesn't have my normal nomenclature on the back, I would ship this to a client immediately. No problem. Looks actually, in some ways, it might look better than the PETG only, PETG basic prints that I was doing. So the next thing I did was I said, well, you may recall, we talked about these before, I designed from scratch a label dispenser, okay? And it's been very successful. And the one I'm holding in front of you is called P4. I think this is the P4 of the label dispenser. It's really cool. It works great. Highly recommended. More on this in a minute. So I said, okay, I'm printing a label dispenser out of PETG-HF. And that's a long print. That's a 6-hour print. Scott says, I've had filament get up under the silicon boot that makes a real mess. Yeah, well, thankfully I'm not dealing with that right now. So here it is in red. This is PETG-HF. And this came out absolutely gloriously. So this was printed. It had 0 defects. It had 0, blobs anywhere. It printed. This is the punchline. It printed like PLA Tough, and PLA Tough is amongst the cleanest printing filament I've ever used. So that was a huge win. And that was a long print. That was 6-something hours. And I was very excited to look at the nozzle after the 6-hour print. And I took a picture of it, which may be hard to see. Let's see which one I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that one. I took a picture of it. This is after 6 hours of printing. And it had a little bit of drool coming out of the nozzle. Not much. A little 1/4-inch piece of drool. But the area around the nozzle is shiny clean. You have no idea how happy I was. So as far as process reliability, the PETG-HF is awesome. Very happy with it. So that's the label holder in the new PETG-HF. That would have been at least 8-hour print in PETG Basic. Actually, here's the kicker. I usually print that in PLA Tough. Okay. Then the question came up, golly, I wonder what the difference is between printing, time difference between printing and PETG and PETG-HF and PLA tough. So we gathered some data. Here it comes. The label dispenser and cleat. So this is the main body of the label dispenser, not the lid, but the biggest part of it, the main body plus the cleat, which I haven't shown here because both cleats are in use. If I was to print that in PLA Basic, it would be 6 hours and 55 minutes. If I was to print that in PETG Basic, it would be 8 hours and 16 minutes. If I printed in PLA Tough, it would be 6 hours and 55 minutes. Does that sound familiar? Exactly the same as PLA Basic. In PETG-HF, 6 hours and 55 minutes. Exactly the same. And then just as a sidebar, I know that James Clow has had very nice things to say about the ABS glass-filled, also known as ABS-GF. That would have been 8 hours and 39 minutes, the slower of all of these times. So to say that, hypothetically, without proof, that Bambu turned the knobs in the process until they were able to get that PETG-HF to be the same printing speed as PLA exactly, there is ample evidence that that is true and it is a workable theory. New York Machinist says, have you tried the PETG-CF? Yes. CF stands for carbon filled. So far for me, he says, it prints even cleaner than the PETG-HF with less nozzle mess. While I believe you, sir, I did a couple of prints in PETG-CF. I was not pleased with respect to strength, specifically bending. I had some stuff break. It had this. This is not a constructive criticism of the material because I didn't do like deep testing, but it kind of broke in a overcooked brownie kind of feel. It was kind of it did not work for me, so I don't have much to report. Hey, Test Room 2003 has joined us. He says, good evening, checking in late from Oostkapelle, Netherlands. 18 degrees science and 63% relative humidity. Welcome, sir. Nice to see you. So those were the times. I was very excited at the time. Now, somebody asked me, well, are you excited about how fast it prints? And the answer is, not really. What I mean by that is my process limitations is not about speed. Most of my printing is, while I'm doing other things and while I'm sleeping. And I have 3 printers. So it hasn't been a major issue. It's kind of nice. And for other people, I could see why this would be really cool. But I'm kind of liking it. What I'm liking most is the cleanliness of the material and it being a PETG. So let me give you the comparisons in the physical parameters. Now, if you're on our Discord server, I posted this in the 3D printing section. This is right off of the Bambu website, so it's not hard to find this information. So, printing speed. There's this chart has 3 columns. It's PLA Basic, PETG-HF, and PETG Basic. And this is how they compare. The new PETG-HF in printing speed is the exact same printing speed as PLA Basic, which is no surprise considering the times we just calculated. So that's 300 millimeters a second, and PETG Basic is 200 millimeters a second. But PLA Basic, same thing, 300 millimeters. The preset printing speed, so this is pulled back from maximum, is 258 for PLA Basic, 258 for PLA for PETG-HF, and PETG Basic is slower. The strength, this is bending strength in XY, is almost the same as PETG. It's 64 versus 65 megapascals. And of course, PLA Basic is stronger in bending strength. We know that. So what does that say? That says that PLA is stiffer. Okay, that's why I use PLA Tough in the balancing stand, because I was going for stiffness, whereas it's a little tougher in the PETG. The absolute stiffness that they measured is, again, they put it right in the middle of the three filaments. The layer strength is similar to PETG Basic, but not as good as PLA Basic. What are you calling BS on? Unix, would you like to come in and make an audio comment? We can do that. Which do you want to come in and make an audio comment? Which is totally fine. No, okay. Oh, on the ladies and gentlemen, Unix Carbide caught me. I said I was talking about the balancing stand, and he called BS. Balancing stand. Moving on. Layer strength. This is where things get interesting. The layer strength is rated as the same as PETG. Not a big deal. Layer adhesion. This is where, for some reason, it's different. Layer adhesion in PLA Basic, follow me now, is the same as PETG Basic at 13.6 kilojoules per square meter, but PETG-HF drops to 10.6 kilojoules per square meter. For some reason, in their chemistry, that's where they had to give something up. So they're giving up a little bit in layer adhesion. Practically, does that matter? I don't know. I don't think so. Toughness, again, they give up a little on PETG Basic, but they pick up a little on PLA Basic. So it's right in the middle. And heat resistance, this is another important one. Heat resistance is 69C, which is the same as PETG Basic and better than PLA Basic. So there's your comparisons. You can go to the website and look that up, or you can take a screenshot if you're quick and check it out. I'll try to put links in the descriptions, but again, you can just go to the Bambu Labs website. So, by the numbers, it's a very interesting spectrum. Josh just put it in the chat. Thank you very much, Josh. So, on one end of the spectrum, you have PLA, which is stiff, but lower temperature behavior, and a little brittle. And then you have PETG at the other end, which is very tough. You're not going to crack it like PLA. High temperature behavior, but it prints very slowly. So this is how I think about it. PLA Tough moved in from the PLA side to a toughened PLA. PETG High Flow moved down from the PETG extreme toward the center with a reformulation of PETG to get higher print rate but retain some of the behavior of PETG. So that was a very long way to say that it's a good compromise and I like it. Will I give up PETG only printing forever? Not necessarily. I'll probably keep printing my trays in PETG until my stock runs down to some amount. I'm relieved that I have a path forward for my PETG use, and it looks good, and I look very happy. I'm very happy about it. Okay, so Dale asks a question that actually occurred to me. He says, now Can you run it slower and improve the layer strength? That's a good question. Evils doubts it, but I'm going to leave that to Mr. James Clough, Clough42. Check out his channel at Clough42, CLOUGH 42. I'm going to let him answer that because he's kind of set up for testing now, for testing strength and stuff. So I'm sure some of the other channels will address that. I don't know, but I'm pretty happy about it. However, there's an issue here. Remember how I was saying how much I liked PLA Tough? And I do. And oh, by the way, PLA Tough is pretty much the same as PLA Pro from others, PLA Plus from others. Guess what other filament Bambu discontinued? You are correct. They discontinued PLA Tough. I'm a little bummed about that one. I kind of like it. So I have plenty of it to continue making the balancing stands. And I will. But they've discontinued it. The question becomes, can I happily use the PETG-HF for the same application? I don't know. We will see. Wilmhurst 999 is here. Welcome, sir. You're dealing with Delta and Wi-Fi. Missed most of the comparisons. We'll need to listen back. Yeah, please do. And pick up the comparison chart from Bambu. Again, we'll try to get that link. Josh, can we get that link right to that chart? That might be kind of useful. Dale is reporting. We'll get to that. We're going to close out. We'll close out the Bambu and pick that up in a second, Dale. So yeah, that is the story on PETG High Flow from Bambu. It's a good filament. I like it. One commentary on their whole thing with the bake every filament. I think it's a philosophical change when they say you must dry this filament before use. By doing that, they eliminate a bunch of people going out and printing with wet filament and then reporting how terrible the filament is. I think it's smart, and I hope that they do that with every single filament that they sell, because it's really hard to guarantee that when you receive a package. One of the guys said to me on, I don't remember which channel it was on, but I made a comment about, they said, you got to dry out every roll as soon as you get it. And he said, even if it's sealed, even if it's fresh and new and in the box. And I said, yeah, because even before it was being recommended by Bambu, that's what we were doing, right? Can you get away without it sometimes? Yeah. Do you want to find out? It's up to you. If you want to try it and see if you don't need to dry it, go ahead. But it's a lot safer to just dry it. Josh put the link for the, believe it or not, that's the Canadian store, Josh, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. The PETG-HF maple flavored filament, which is now available. So I'm a big fan of drying. I'm a big fan of keeping it dry. I'm a big fan of measuring relative humidity, if you haven't figured that out already. And you should do it repeatedly and often. So while we're in the 3D printing department, our friend Dale over in Edmonton, Alberta, reports that the silicon resin from FormLabs, this is silicon. It's silicone, actually, sorry. Silicone resin from FormLabs is, and these are his words, amazing. It's a very expensive specialty resin. And it makes silicone parts, the nice squishy gaskets and O-rings and seals, and it does it on the FormLabs printer. So Dale is experimenting with this because he's in the part of the world where there's oil. He's in oil country. He's fixing stuff for industry. The ability to make these gaskets is important to him. Well, he got a Form 3 printer. He followed the instructions. He established his process, and he made his first prints in the silicone resin and is reporting great success. That's pretty cool. Now, you're going to want to sit down before you look up how much the silicone resin costs, and you may want to just relax a while afterwards and not get out of the chair too quickly. But it is very expensive, but it seems to be working. So thank you for that report, Dale. That's another, I guess that's the second kind of exotic resin we have a report on. I've been using the Rigid 10K, which is not that exotic. And that also has delivered. So I've been very happy with that. Dale asked me a few days ago about, do you have to clean the build plate in the Form printer between prints or between resins? And here's the word on that. If you're printing in the same resin and you've popped your parts off the plate so that there's still some wet resin on the plate, you don't have to worry about it. You could just keep going. If you're changing resins, you want your build plate to be squeaky clean. Or, I think it should be squeaky clean, but you could also use the other build plate that you reserve for that resin, which is not common practice. It doesn't take that long. I would clean it, but that's very important. But if you're staying in the same resin, you can take your parts off the plate and continue, and you'll be fine. So, and if anybody has any questions about any of this stuff, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to get them answered. That's what we're here for. And if we don't know, we'll find somebody who knows how to make it up. I see Dale's typing, so I'm waiting for what he has to say. So that's a story in the 3D printing department. Very exciting results. So Dale says they actually demand that you have a dedicated build plate for the silicone resin. Now, the reason they do this is that the silicone resin, they don't want any contamination from any other resin. They want it squeaky clean. And of course, it's a very special process, so you will do that. Greenwood AG asks, were you able to find out what wavelength the light is in your FormLabs printer? Answer, yes. Next question, please. Just kidding. 405 nanometers. 405 nanometers. And that is sort of an industry standard. So we're not surprised by that at all. It is not ultraviolet. Ultraviolet would be below about 300 or 300 to 350, but it is a blue light, and it's 405 nanometers. Carl is coming in with an audio question. Carl, go ahead.
You mentioned that they demand that you have a separate build plate for the silicone. And the issue there is that if the silicone is very likely to contaminate a build plate used for anything else. It's a terrible problem in the coatings industry. If you have any silicone, you basically can't get anything else to stick to it.
Ha.
So I think that's the reasoning there, is they don't want to contaminate other processes with the silicone.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
I think it's this.
You think
silicone is the bad actor there, I think.
So you think it's in that direction? Well, either way, if you're going to pay, Dale, how much is that? How much is the liter of the silicone resin? And $350 in the United States doll hairs, $350 per liter. So yeah, so it's good. It's good recommendation. I didn't think about it from that direction, Carl. Thank you for the input.
So yeah, silicone is a terrible contaminant. Anytime you've got, it's used as defoamers and stuff like that, and it just causes nightmares of adhesion problems. So,
thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate it. That was awesome. Let's see. Stephen asks, can you use FormLabs resin in cheaper printers like MSLA printers? Elegoo Mars 3 Pro comes to mind. You can do anything you want. I do not recommend it. I know that the chemistry of the FormLabs resins is so different than all the other stuff on the market that you're asking for trouble, number one. Number two, you're going to spend a lot of money on FormLabs resins. They are more expensive. So can you? I don't know. I won't try it. I haven't tried it. But I bet you can make it work if you work at it. And Steven says if you get contamination in an O-ring or a gasket, it would be bad. Yeah, especially depending on what you have the gasket in. Art that makes art. Wes, welcome, sir. Asks, have you messed with the bamboo textured plates? Funny you should mention that. So I have the plates that came with my bamboo printer were the so-called engineering plate, which really was a powder-coated plate on one side, and then it was a adhered PEI sheet called the cool plate on the other side, meaning it wasn't intended for high temperature on the PEI side. So the engineering plate, the powder-coated plate, has been really awesome, and I use it just dead clean. I clean it with alcohol, and that's it. No Kickapoo Joy Juice. And that's been awesome for PETG, okay? However, so my testing with the Bambu PETG High Flow was with the engineering plate. It worked beautifully. In fact, it had an interesting characteristic. It had very good adhesion, okay, and I showed that with the printing the Kiki. I was worried about it. Had very good adhesion, but when it cooled down to room temperature, the adhesion, it got very easy to remove. So it was very interesting behavior. Now, I wanted to go by the book, so I went to the data sheet, and the data sheet from Bambu specifies bed type, smooth PEI plate or textured PEI plate. So I went ahead and I ordered, they have these combos, which is smooth PEI on one side, textured PEI on the other side. I ordered 3 of them. So I'm going to try the textured. I have not used it regularly. I've seen the work that they do. Looks great. It's on the way. I'll let you know. Scott says all he uses is the textured PEI plate. Excellent. Can't wait to get it. It'll be very interesting. And CJ Stevens seconds the powder-coated plates with PETG, smooth as glass. Yeah, it's been pretty neat. I don't know why we can't get them anymore. I think they're gone also. Dale says, can you touch on the ultrasonic cleaning of resin prints? Sure. So when you clean a resin print, you're cleaning it with isopropyl alcohol. With an asterisk. There are other chemicals you can use that are non-flammable, that are more expensive. If you're doing the silicone, again, you're a rare bird if you are, there's some extra special considerations. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about run-of-the-mill resin printing. So I don't want to say I developed the use of, but I started using ultrasonic cleaning using IPA in my process, especially for my NOSes. So the NOS has a long, several long capillaries in it, and they're hard to clean. So in researching how to deal with that, I tripped over using ultrasonic cleaning. So I bought a small ultrasonic cleaner, import model on Amazon. I think it's a 2-liter. Not sure. And I fill it with IPA, and it's in my washing chain. Now, most ultrasonic cleaners have a heater in them. You have to make absolutely certain that the heater never turns on. This should be obvious. I have to say it. But from an ultrasonic point of view, it really does work quite nicely. Ultrasonic cleaning works great for everything. Another approach you can take is you could fill your ultrasonic cleaner with water, okay, and then use another container with your solvent and then dunk that in the ultrasonic bath. I'm not going to talk about that because I don't do it, but that is a direction you can go in. That way you could change your solvents but still use your ultrasonic cleaner. Ultrasonic cleaners are awesome. You have to be careful though. They are strong. One of the tests for whether your ultrasonic cleaner is working properly is to put aluminum foil in it, and it will rip holes in the aluminum foil. So you got to be a little cautious. Let's see. Snatchko says, been rolling with the Prusa Mark IV, usually using their textured plate with a quick spray of cheap hairspray. Whatever works for you, but I try to stay away from any additional material on the plate. I have things to say about that. CJ Stevens says, Ziploc bags work great for jewelry in the ultrasonic cleaner. Yeah, in fact, my wife just did that this week with one of our ultrasonics. There's a couple of links in the Discord chat from DBX on some cleaners. Also, at pfg.gg/links, you will find all of the stuff that I use, including that little ultrasonic cleaner and the big ultrasonic cleaner. I have two of them. Let's see. Yes, we're not going to talk about N-butyl acetate today. Sorry. Or ammo acetate. Both of them owe me $20. Robert Simpson says real Pyrex beakers work well. That's an excellent suggestion, Robert. So a Pyrex beaker in a bath of water in an ultrasonic cleaner works great. And the Pyrex being hard is a low loss transmission of the ultrasonics. So that's awesome. Yeah, DBX points out that those are my links that he just put in the Discord. But you can go to pfg.gg/links and just follow the links. Glass jars work great. Yep, that works good. What doesn't work great is a plastic container, because the plastic is lossy. In other words, it does work when it vibrates. That work turns into heat, not into transmitting the vibration into your plastic container. Glass works great because the glass transmits it with very low loss. I hope we got that right. Cool. Let's see. Steven says, can I get some ideas for solvents to use for cleaning aluminum without destroying mirror finishes? No. I mean, if you used isopropyl alcohol on a mirror-finished aluminum surface, I would expect it to have no detrimental effect on the aluminum. Yeah, Proteum Machining says Dawn and water. And Dawn is one of the things I use a lot of in the shop. Dawn being the brand of dishwashing soap. Simple Green. Yes, Simple Green has caused corrosion because Simple Green is corrosive. Absolutely yes. I've been through this. I looked at the Simple Green. Just use Dawn dishwasher soap. It will clean things, and it's cheap. It's not an environmental hazard, and it is non-corrosive to aluminum. So that would be an excellent choice. Thank you, Proteum. Nice to see you, Dylan. CJ Stevens reminds us to make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and subscribe to the channel. There's been new faces on here. We welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. We're at the top of the hour, so I think we're going to wrap it up. A couple of things. If you need something flat, head on over to PFG.Stones.com. That's PFG.Stones.com, and we'll take care of you. Also, subscribe to the channel. If you're a Discord user, come on over and join our Discord server. We really do have a quality group of people, a lot of excellent discussions, a lot of problem solving, and we'd love to have you. And Carl says, first like. I guess somebody, I got a like. Woohoo! Thank you so much. Well, we'll be back next week with another PFG Live. We're here every Sunday unless something is going on. It's been my pleasure, and I am here to remind you to get flat and stay flat. And we'll see you next week.